Alright, guys, so this is another crossover that was on my poll alongside Rambo vs. G.I. Joe, but it was such a cool idea. I was like, you know what? I gotta do it. I gotta do it as a video. So here we are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Alien vs. Predator vs. Amphibia. Yep, another AVP crossover. So Alien vs. Predator vs. Amphibia takes place during the events of Season 3 with Anne and the others are gone. Yeah, Anne and the others are gone on Earth. So this is more primarily focusing on Sasha and Grimes and the little frog rebellion that they have. So the story starts out with Sasha and Grimes visiting a small frog town, another frog town. God, words, how do I say them? Another frog town that is close to is close by, and maybe they can get some help. However, when they get there, they discover a really horrid scene that something had attacked them, and it was something one might say alien. So they go around and more or less discover that there's like weird organic like things on, like there's organic walls, and frogs had been like put on the, like cocooned on the walls, and their chests were torn out. But the thing is, like, Grimes does some some closer looking, and he's like, wait a minute, like the rib cage is blown out. Something didn't rip out, like go in to rip out their hearts. Something came out. And they're like, and Sasha's like, well, the Amphibia's full of weird stuff. Is there like a parasite or something that could do this? And Grimes is like, maybe, because like it wouldn't be too far off. Like in the world of Amphibia, like a giant like tarantula wasp or something could do this, or like a parasitic fly could do this. So Grimes is like, maybe, but there's no way some animal like this could do this to an entire town. Maybe this is like a new bioweapon by Andreas or whatever. And yeah, so Sasha, Grimes, and their team of rebels like try to look for survivors, and they make a horrifying discovery that it's not just the inhabitants of the town that were taken and incubated. There were also animals that were taken as well. And what they discover is Wally discovers something that he wants to eat, and it's a face hugger. It's a dead face hugger, and they want to examine it. And they're like, that's no animal that exists on... There is no animal that lives like this in Amphibia. Like, there's no creature like this. And there is like, so could this have done it? And they're like, there's no way something this small, even a number of them could do it. And, yeah. So it's pretty bad. So they're like, let's get back. Let's figure out what's going on. And yeah, what they don't realize is that they were being watched by the whole time. By what? You probably guessed what it is. So when they get back, they're examining it. They're examining the face hugger, and they're more or less like trying to study it. But however, Wally and the other frogs like come running in, and they're like, there's something going on, like there's something attacking the perimeter. And that something is xenomorphs. Yeah, and not just regular xenomorphs. These are xenomorphs that have been like crossed with frogs, so they can actually like jump higher. And they have some of the frogs even have like some of the xenomorphs now have like toxic skin. So like the very touch of them is like poisonous to them, to another person. So of course, when they're fighting with shields and swords, Sasha like goes to stab one, and acid blood gets on her hair. She's like, "Oh shit, that fucking hurts!" And she warns everyone, "Get back! They have acid blood." Yeah. So they fight off the xenomorphs. They manage to kill one. So they're examining it, and they're like, "This is no animal that exists on Amphibia." And that's when they discover like a little collar on the neck, and they're like, "Fucking Andreas made these things," because that's what they think. They think Andreas made it, because obviously with the Frobots, they probably like, it's probably like, did he make some kind of bioweapon too? Is that like what happened? did he make some kind of like weird ass bioweapon to go along with this weird shit? I don't understand. So, yeah. So it turns out that ages ago, Andreas' father found, during his conquests of other worlds with the Calamity Box, he ended up on Earth not too long ago, like an expedition, and found a downed Predator ship. And in doing so, the Predator ship had xenomorph eggs and a queen that was unconscious. So Andreas' father took the queen, put it in hibernation because he wanted to use it and harvest the eggs and use them as like shock troops for future wars. Well, he died, and now but left the damn thing on ice. Andreas, now that he has a Frobot army, wants to use the xenomorphs, but the core warns him. Like, the core basically warns him, like, the real reason why we didn't want to use it the first time around, because we calculated the xenomorphs were, why we chose the Frobots over the xenomorphs were because these things were way too unpredictable. They were way too dangerous to be properly utilized. That's why we didn't want to use them, because they were so dangerous. And Andreas is like, yeah, that's why I built collars on them to shock them into subserving. And that's why I have control over their queen. However, what they didn't realize is that there's been someone who followed them all those ages ago, who followed them from the down ship into the world of Amphibia and has been living there. A predator. So yeah, a lone predator who was the lone survivor of that downed ship had snuck in the portal right before it closed, and rather than try to kill everyone, he more or less had been hunting on Amphibia and been living there in solitude. And you may be thinking, there's no way a predator could, a lone Yautja could be living on Amphibia all by himself. Well, they're fucking Yautja. They could, these guys, if they don't want to be seen, they don't want to be seen. So he's so the Yautja had been more or less called a ghost, the invisible death or whatever, like an urban legend. But really, he's just been living and chilling out and hunting the wild animals that live in Amphibia, and maybe the occasional toad or newt or whatever that crossed his path. But now that there's an actual xenomorph outbreak, he's like, I know what I gotta do. So the Predator is out there using a mixture of his old gear, as well as handmade bowcaster, shoulder cannon. He's more or less been going all of his weapons, whenever they break or whatever, he just retrofits new gear from what's around him. So he's kind of starts out as the jungle predator from the Arnold movie, and then later becomes the predator we see in Prey. So he's just or the predators we see in Predator Hunters, if you've read that comic, where they're he's slowly becoming more and more using primal gear. So the Predator eventually does encounter more xenomorphs, and he's like, now I know what I gotta do. So the Predator goes on its own private mission, but in doing so, Sasha is leading her own little strike team to figure out what's going on and figure out what how Andreas is using these creatures, what's making them. She doesn't believe they're aliens. She and Grimes are still under the impression that these are monsters that he created in a lab. They can't be. She has no thought that this is a creature from another world. She doesn't have a thought of that. That's the only thought she has in her head, is that this is a creature not from Earth. That's the thing. It has to be something from Earth. That can be the only explanation. Anyway, so eventually the Grimes and Sasha, Grimes, and the others do find their way to the lab, the pen that they're keeping the xenomorphs in, the xenomorph queen in, roughly the same time the Predator does. And then when the Predator shows up, he's already tearing ass through the entire newts and just collecting skulls and whatever. And there's this great scene where I would love to have this great scene where the Predator There's a Newt guard who encounters Sasha. He's about to kill her, and then the Predator just like comes up behind him and just plunges his fist through the guy's spine back and just rips out his spine right in front of Sasha. And he's like, "Holy shit!" Now you may be thinking, "Oh, does the Predator team up with Sasha?" No, they are fair game, much as the Xenomorphs are. So the Predator views Sasha as like worthy prey. So she and Grimes fight it, and the fight does lead to the Queen to the Xenomorph Queen's like pen where they're keeping her, and eventually it breaks out. It becomes like a three-way fight between Grimes tries to take on the Queen, Sasha takes on the Predator. Eventually she does kill it, and actually like when it's dying, it actually like gives her the razor disc. He like gives her the razor disc as like a gift to use, and Grimes manages to kill the Queen in like a rock slide. Anyway, so there you go. That is pretty much Alien versus Predator versus Amphibia. Fun little crossover, and as always, if you'd like to join my Patreon and join these polls, while this one didn't win, I thought it was such a good idea, I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do this one anyway. So there you go, guys. Hope you all enjoyed this. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.